Hi everybody! So I'm doing something a little different here. I thought I would add my voice and talk about the process. So I recently drew Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. I have not played the game. It is on my list. I'm really excited to play the game. I'm a huge D&D nerd and I think it's an absolutely fantastic game through and through. Not just from like the D&D perspective, but also from the game design perspective. But anyways, I think this is absolutely awesome. So I wanted to draw him because a lot of people were talking about him, and rightfully so, because he is a very flirty character. And I thought it would be funny to just, draw him. So I did. So my process, I draw in grayscale first. That's just what I do. I draw in grayscale and then I add color in later. And there's a whole debate online between artists of whether or not you should do this or yada yada. I don't really want to get into that right now. But anyway, that's what I do. It's what's comfortable for me and it's what makes my work, I think anyway, pop out a bit more because I have a focus on lighting and composition rather than color. And I think Astarion works out better in my favor because of this, because we're talking about a vampire, a character that is like almost dead looking, right? So I had a lot of fun just like matching what he looks like in game to what I currently draw, right? So it was a lot of fun, and I don't normally draw like shirtless people. I don't really draw men often, so this was a little bit of a challenge for me, and it took some days to get this done, but I got there in the end. Anyway, you can see me here. I'm taking red and putting it back into the grayscale. The reason behind that is because I wanted to make sure that I got the color match right. So when I do add color back, it's going to look red. I didn't want to create the rose way too light, and I didn't want to create it way too dark either, so that's why I took red and I turned it into black and white, into the grayscale. But yeah, I have a painterly style that I normally go for when I'm like creating splash arts and characters and everything. So this was a lot of fun for me to just like zone in and just draw and doodle and do all of that, and I got a good anatomy practice here, which was awesome. But as you can see, it takes quite a bit of work to do this. You see me like throw some color down and then quickly blend it out, and to me, drawing digitally is a lot like traditionally painting. You just kind of throw color and you blend it in, and you throw more color and then you take away and then add some. It's an interesting process, to say the least, but I think it works better, I guess, in a way. But anyways, as you can see, I did struggle with the rose quite a bit. It was a process in it was an interesting process. I've drawn and illustrated roses before. That's not what the issue was here. This was problematic because of the angle that it was at, and I was having a tough time deciding whether or not to have the rose in like full bloom or just like starting to bloom. So that's why you see me draw and then take away and then draw and take away. But I did decide to do something different with this piece, which you'll see in a little bit, and I'll explain it. But anyways, as you can see, like, for me, working in grayscale is a lot easier because that way I can show where the light is coming from, what's happening, and where I want the importance, like where your eye is drawn, and your eye is drawn immediately to Astarion's face, and then it goes around the piece. So for me, that's why I like working in grayscale, and anyone who's an artist and illustrator can argue about it, but I'm not gonna be arguing about it with you. It's just a preference thing. But anyways, so I'm about to import a background. Now, Normally this would be a big no-no, especially if you're just talking about this and like, oh yeah, I drew the whole piece and whatever. But I actually wanted to see how much my process would change based on using AI as like a tool, right? Now, I'm not going to get into the whole debate of like whether AI is good or whether it's bad or whether it does have uses for artists or not, or like whatever. I don't want to be a part of it. At least not at this moment in time. This is just a silly drawing about a sexy vampire man, so... But I used AI to generate a background because I realized pretty quickly that it was going to take me forever to draw that background how I wanted it. So I thought using AI and then altering it, and you see me apply, you'll see like little flicks and filters go on. What I'm doing is I don't just take the regular AI image and then just call it a day. I do alter it and create it, and then it goes much more into like a collage type process. So that's what you see me doing. I frost out the window and I start adding lines in to like create this like wood texture, and then eventually I'll add some curtains and everything. But the reason why I wanted to do this was for two reasons. One, it made my drawing process a lot easier and I could just add more and get the background exactly how I wanted it. But two, it also showed me my values. My values were off in this piece. I wasn't using all the way darks and all the way lights, so you'll see me go back and alter the main piece of Astarion and like the pillows and everything to make sure that they are dark and that they are light, and that you get this like little rim lighting because of how bright. I was going for a moon in this piece, but I realized just it's a bit too bright. You can't see like a night sky or anything, so I'm going with like a cloudy day. You know, it's a fantasy world, right? It's fine. But yeah, I think that AI can be used as a tool and as a quick trick for artists and creators, so don't be afraid to use it, though I understand absolutely it is horrible and horrendous and it needs a lot of work. Especially with crediting artists that it takes from and just like the racist and ableist versions of AI right now. But anyway, so you see me, I go back and I quickly adjust the values to make sure that my darks are dark and my lights are light and that Astarion fits into this background and everything works out well. So finally, my last little bit of grayscale is just adding details and texture, because skin, believe it or not, does have a lot of texture, and a lot of people will paint the skin so that it's very, very smooth and that there's not like little flecks or anything. So if you look at your skin right now, you can see that there are lines, and sometimes there's like little moles and dark spots and maybe some scars and everything. So I quickly add that in to not only add character, but to make it a bit more realistic. And you see me adjusting the eyes and going back and making all these adjustments all over the place. But eventually, we get to color. And, oh, sorry. I add some candles to make it slightly romantic, you know? This is the vampire man that everyone is lusting after, so of course we gotta add some candles, for sure, for sure. And I'm happy how they fit in so well, too. I wanted some candles in the original piece, and it worked out just great. But anyway, eventually we get to color, and it's a process, because working from grayscale into color is always an interesting process. Because what happens is that your colors are automatically desaturated. No matter what you do, no matter what layers you do, or effects that you do, your colors will always be desaturated. So artists who work in grayscale should know this when they're adding in color. So for me, I knew that no matter what I do, my colors are going to be desaturated. So what I do, because I work in grayscale, is I use a color layer first to just lay out my flats, lay out the colors that I want to see on this piece, and then I tone it down a little bit. And then I do another color layer, which, as you can see, when I flip back and forth, you're like, what? What are those colors? Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I do another color layer, and it gets me more of those saturated tones that I'm looking for. But because we're dealing with a character that is a vampire, and like vampires are like dark and, you know, like just think Dracula, you know? I thought, okay, I'm not gonna do like super duper vibrant colors because that's not really gonna help either, because I think that would make the piece very, very distracting. And when you look at Astarion's outfits in Baldur's Gate 3, it's not really super duper vibrant, but you do see like some gold and everything. So I go back and I start adding some more color to the skin. This is with a, oh god, I think it was a hard light layer or something like that in Photoshop. But anyways, what I'm doing is I'm going back and adding color layer by layer. And some layers are just normal. It's like just take a normal layer that you normally draw and sketch on, and I just add color that way. Other times it's through blending modes, like color, multiply, darken, overlay, like all of those. But the reason why I do this is because it pushes your colors more. And if you just look at the hair from beginning, middle to end, you see just how much like his white silver hair changes, right? Because it is easy to just draw in black and white, but once you start adding color, you get these subtle nuances in color that really make your piece pop. It can anyway. So I'm going back through and I'm making his skin a bit more translucent. So for those who don't know, the skin is slightly translucent, right? When light enters through the skin, you get it bouncing around, and you can see this when you have like a flashlight shining through your fingers, or you look at it like through the ears of somebody in sunlight, you see like this red color, right? So that's light bouncing around. It's called, oh my god, can I even remember what it's called? Oh my goodness, not transmission, diffusion, I think, maybe? But anyway, I start doing that with his skin because, you know, I don't want him to look like a complete corpse either. Like, he has skin, he has, like, he's clearly alive in some way, and I'm really happy with how it came out. It's like this iridescent type skin, and it works really, really well. But now I'm going back through, and on this layer is just normal color, just flat colors that I'm putting down to really pull on like the saturation of the colors and making sure that they look like what colors they're supposed to look like. And you can see what a difference this makes just by like looking at the silk pillows and then looking at the skin and looking where I make these adjustments, especially on like the fur pillow that I've got in the front with the rose on top of it. It just makes a huge difference. And now I'm going back and adding lights to the candles. I wasn't sure if I wanted to or not, but it made quite a difference. So I went back and started adding to the background, adding more texture, more details. Eventually you're going to see me go through and make a lighting adjustment in the background, because I realized if you have candles on the ground and there's going to be more behind him that you just can't see, then it's also going to reflect on the walls a little bit. So lighting in art is very, very finicky. Sometimes you choose to make things realistic lighting, and other times you don't, and in this piece, some of it's realistic, most of it's not, but most people can't tell, which is great. But the reason why you do this and make lighting real or not real is to create, like, interest, right? To create visual interest in your pieces. So now you see me go back and I'm altering a brush to create these little flecks. Basically I wanted to highlight some dust particles that are in the air. I think it enhances pieces as long as it's used right. So that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to add some dust particles in the air that you can see, and then you see me finally go back and add very strong shadows with like this dark purple. And the reason why I did this is because I thought it would create a bit more visual enhancement, but also it would push Astarion back to be in like the mid-ground. So, work in progress, with a shirt on, and finally, with nothing. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed.